Amoka used to believe that life had a rhythm, like the soft drums she grew up hearing in her village in Enugu. A rhythm of laughter, of family, of warmth. But somewhere along the way, that rhythm had been replaced by silence and fear. In London, her life looked like a dream. Expensive clothes, a beautiful apartment, and a husband who knew exactly how to impress the world. Chinedu carried confidence like a crown. He spoke with authority, smiled with charm, and people respected him instantly. They never saw what happened when the doors closed. At first, Amoka thought she was lucky. He chose her. He married her. He brought her abroad. But slowly, the sweetness faded. His compliments turned into criticism. His attention turned into control. Why do you talk like that? Why do you laugh so loudly? Why do you need friends when you have me? Each question chipped away at her identity. She stopped calling home as often. Then she stopped completely. Her colorful dresses were replaced with the ones he approved. Her opinions became silence. Her laughter disappeared. And then one night, everything crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The slap came suddenly. Loud. Shocking. Amoka stood frozen, her cheek burning, her heart racing. She looked at him, waiting for something. An apology, regret, anything. But all she saw was anger. That night, she cried herself to sleep, whispering lies to her own heart. It was a mistake. He didn't mean it. It won't happen again. But it did. Again. And again. Days turned into months, and months into years. Amoka learned how to survive. She learned how to read his moods, how to avoid his anger, how to make herself invisible. But survival is not living. The turning point came on a quiet evening. No shouting. No chaos. Just a small argument. And a push. She fell hard, her body hitting the cold floor. For a moment, everything went still. And in that stillness, something inside her awakened. Not fear. Not pain. Clarity. She stared at the ceiling and realized something terrifyingly simple. If I stay, I will disappear. That thought refused to leave her. From that day on, Amoka became someone else. Not weaker, but quieter in a different way. Strategic. Careful. She started saving small amounts of money. Coins. Notes. Anything she could hide. She kept her passport where he wouldn't look. She memorized important details like her life depended on it, because it did. Every smile she gave him became a performance. Every, "I'm sorry," became a step closer to freedom. Weeks later, on a gray morning soaked in rain, her moment arrived. Chinedu left for work, slamming the door behind him as usual. Amoka stood in the middle of the apartment, her heart pounding so loudly it felt like the walls could hear it. For a second, fear tried to stop her. What if he comes back? What if I fail? But then another voice spoke, stronger. What if you don't go? She picked up her small suitcase and walked out. No goodbye. No turning back. At the airport, every step felt unreal. Her hands trembled as she handed over her passport. Her eyes kept scanning, expecting him to appear, to drag her back into the life she was escaping. But he never came. When the plane lifted into the sky, Amoka looked out the window, watching the city shrink beneath her. For the first time in years, she could breathe. When she arrived in Lagos, the air felt different. Warmer, heavier, but alive. It carried memories she thought she had lost. Still, fear followed her. What would people say? Would they blame her? Would they see her as a failure? But when she finally reached home, all those fears melted in an instant. Her mother didn't question her. Didn't judge her. She simply opened her arms and held her tightly. That one embrace healed something years of pain could not. Amoka cried like she was releasing a storm she had been holding inside her soul. Every tear carried pain, but also relief. She was home. Days slowly turned into weeks. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. She started helping her mother in the small roadside shop. At first, she felt awkward, like she didn't belong anywhere anymore. But slowly, she began to find herself again. Her laughter returned, soft at first, then real. She began to notice things again, the colors of fabrics, the sound of children playing, the warmth of human connection. She was healing. But destiny wasn't done with her. One hot afternoon, as the sun poured down over the dusty road, a girl walked into the shop. She looked fragile, lost. Her name was Zainab. Something about her eyes struck Amoka immediately. They carried the same silent pain she once held. Zainab came back the next day. And the next. At first, she said nothing. Just small purchases, quiet glances. But pain has a way of finding its voice. One evening, as the shop was closing, Zainab finally broke. "They want to marry me off," she whispered, her voice trembling. "To a man older than my father." Amoka felt her chest tighten. The fear in that girl's voice. It was too familiar. Suddenly, her past wasn't just a memory. It was a mirror. This time, she refused to stay silent. She began talking to Zainab, encouraging her, giving her strength. But she knew that words alone wouldn't be enough. So Amoka did something she never thought she would do. She spoke up. She reached out to women in the community. She shared her story, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Her voice shook at first, but she didn't stop. Some people criticized her. They called her rebellious, said she was destroying traditions. But others listened. Really listened. Women began to gather. Stories surfaced. Pain that had been buried for years started to rise. Amoka realized something powerful. Her story wasn't just hers anymore. It was a light for others. With support growing around her, they helped Zainab escape the forced marriage. It wasn't easy. There were threats, pressure, resistance. But this time, fear didn't win. Freedom did. One evening, as the sun set in shades of gold and orange, Zainab stood beside Amoka. Free, smiling, alive. And in that moment, Amoka understood something deeply. She didn't just come back to Nigeria to heal. She came back to become something more. A voice. A force. A beginning. Then one day, her phone rang. Chinedu. The name alone used to terrify her. But now, it didn't hold the same power. She answered. His voice was different. Softer. Regretful. He spoke of change, of missing her, of wanting her back. There was a long silence. Amoka closed her eyes for a moment, not in fear, but in reflection. Then she spoke, calm and steady. "I found myself again," she said. "And I'm never losing that for anyone." And just like that, she ended the call. No anger. No tears. Just peace. That night, as she sat outside under the wide Nigerian sky, listening to the distant rhythm of drums, Amoka smiled. Because this time, the rhythm of her life had returned. And it was stronger than ever.